Hey everybody, welcome back to the IAE. I'm your host, Law of the West, and today we're going to be looking at Anvil ships. Now, this is the last day that they're going to be displaying, well, it's going to be the last day the manufacturers are going to be displaying ships, so I might actually just milk this a little bit. And let's just say Cloud Imperium Games knows how to go out on a bang, because it has 4 new ships here to show off. Well, here's one of them right here in front of us. We got the medical Terrapin, and the other one's right over here. Now, this one's the Hornet tracker. I'm going to try to get over here and... Whoa. That truly looks like an NPC just died. Well, we don't have time for you, sir. We have other things to look at. And this is the rework for it. And instead of just jumping in as soon as the expo was ready, I took a little time on the webpage and I just checked out some of these ships beforehand, so I did have some information about them. And the Hornet tracker is essentially like the default Mark II, but it comes with the tracker component, the external pod that's on the top of it. And it has all the different upgrades that the standard Mark II version does have on top of it as well. So it has 2 size 4 gun mounts on the wings. And it does have the hard points where you can put any one of the other turrets onto it if you want. Now, I haven't done any experimentation with it as well, but I believe this is just going to be just like the Mark Is, where you can take that radar dish off and then put a turret on top of it and use it that way. And honestly, this is just really a good opportunity for people who just are getting into the game and they wanted a ship like this and said, you know, oh God, but it's been so long since the tracker's been out. I want to get it with LTI. This is your opportunity to do it. Now over here's the Ghost. Now there's one notable change that they've done to the Ghost. And it seems like they're getting rid of the concept of void armor. Because when I read the description for this one, it said there's a module in the back of it that dampens its radar signature. And that's the piece that's on its back right there that takes place of the turret. And can I take that off and put it on any of the other Hornet modules and dampen its signature? Because I believe you can. And are they actually going to get away from the idea of void armor? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. They haven't officially said anything about it yet. But that's just the impression I'm getting when looking at this. Other than that, it's like the standard... Excuse me for a second. Let me change that camera view. Yeah, it's like the standard Mark II in every other way. Same hard points, same weapons. I haven't looked at its hard stats, but as we know, that doesn't really mean anything because those are constantly changing. If you buy a ship based on its hard stats, you're going to always be disappointed. Go with your gut when you look at a ship. Do you really like it? Do you like the concept of it? That's when you get it. Okay, here's the F7A. Can I actually rent this? Oh, it will let me rent it. Okay, interesting. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't. Fully loaded out. Now, the only bad thing, too, is when you rent a ship, you can't pull components off of it. You can't actually even look at the ship and see what its components are comprised of. So you can't screw around and try to see if you can pull off like the radar off of the tracker and put it on the Ghost, or pull the Ghost component off and put it over in the tracker and vice versa. So unfortunately, if you're going to be trying that, it won't work. I was also looking at this ship, like on their site map, and just trying to get an idea of how I feel about it. I'm still on the fence. Because this would be a great ship if you were a solo med runner. You know, it's extremely defendable, can handle all kinds of different environments. It's got everything on board you'd need. It's got a tier 2 bed, I believe, unless they've changed things. And when you look at it, it's got 2 bits of competition right now. You've got the medical Pisces, and you've got the Cutlass Red. And the Cutlass Red is going to be more about, well, it's got 2 beds on it. Those are tier 3 with the lowest tiered beds. Once again, unless they change something. And it's more offensively minded. This is more defensively minded, a single tier 2 bed. Like, once again, unless they've changed something. And then the Pisces is just all about convenience, being able to fit into other ships. being able to squeeze into areas and land that other ships won't be able to, that kind of thing. So every one of them has their place. And inside of it, so the outside is almost exactly the same. The only difference is it got rid of that radar dish. There's no utility mount up there, so it's not like you can put something on after the fact. They did replace it with a beacon, though, so that's going to be interesting. And of course, this is a wash station, and they talked about wash stations being tied in with a hygiene mechanic, much like much like the shower is going to be. So, is this just like a small portable version of the shower, or maybe a less effective version of it? Maybe. Okay, I just want to take a look at this really quickly. Now, let's get out of there. Now, the only real difference is it has a number of changes that they've added to this, but are going to be coming to the standard Terrapin. This just went through its gold standard pass first. This is the only thing I think is going to be dedicated to this ship as opposed to... Actually, you know, I don't know if I want to shut this door. I've seen people get stuck in this room before, and I don't really want to have that happen to me right now. I will test that out later on, but these two doors shut and it separates the cabin area, or it separates the flight deck from the cabin area. And they've also detached the armor plating from the landing gear, so there's a separate button that actually enacts the armor now. That's another gold standard thing that's going to be coming to the standard Terrapin. Oh, here we go. Engineering terminal. Relays. I also see this working really good if you're part of an org and you're the kind of person who wants to be the captain of your own ship, but you don't want to have to deal with a crew. And you can also be extremely useful to an org by showing up and having a mobile spawn point and the ability to heal tier 2 injuries. So, a couple of things to think about. I think it's a very specialized ship. And if you don't fit into those categories, it would not be the ship for you. Or basically just hold off and get it in game if you're still really unsure about that, or you're unsure about what kind of role you want to play. That's the way I feel right now. I don't know how it fits into my fleet. I don't know if it does fit into my fleet. I've got the medical Pisces. I really do enjoy that. I'm not getting the Cutlass Red just because personally it doesn't work for me. I would never see myself flying that around as opposed to something else. This, on the other hand, I was thinking about how good would this be as an Explorer variant, because it still has the VTOL thrusters. So it's going to be able to handle Atmo and handle like choppy weather extremely well. The heavy armor is always going to be good. The oversized shields are always going to be good. Because shields is another thing that handles radiation damage, which is something that's going to be heavy in pyro. Excuse me. So it's going to be very useful. But there's one thing about having a mobile spawn point. Excuse me, I'm having a little cup of coffee here. And get that frog out of my throat. I was going to pause the audio here for a second. Oh, I didn't want to do that into the mic. But I don't think I'm going to continue on with that statement. But yeah, I was talking about it handling radiation damage. But would I use that as a solo ship to bring me to FPS battles or things along those lines? I don't know. I really don't know. And the Carrack, of course, I think everybody's already heard about the changes that they're going to be doing to the Carrack. We'll see if, well, I don't think it's going to be in this model. Let's give it a try. So there's two things. They finally put the blast shields around the windscreen up here on the flight deck. Looks very neat. It's very much like you'd expect. They showed animations or previs of it like really early on, back when Paul Jones was still part of the project. And it looks exactly like what it did back then. And over here is the second thing. Now, let's see if it gives me the prompt. This is in 4.0. I believe it's not in this, so I don't think it's going to happen, which is those doors to this will open, like these doors right here. It can't drop to the ground and you can't detach the modules. You can open those doors and get access to it. So in a very awkward way, you can slam boxes into this thing and use it for, well, not a vehicle transport, but a cargo transport, assuming you're using smaller boxes. I think 1, 2, 4. I don't think an 8 SU size box will fit into the opening that they provide for you. But it's progress. I'll take it. I've always been very pro Carrack. And here's the standard Terrapin. I kind of can't bring my... So a lot of people are saying that the ramp is different on the standard Terrapin as opposed to the other one. No, they're exactly the same. The exterior is exactly the same, except for removing the radar dish and getting rid of that utility hardpoint. But other than that... Oh, yeah, and of course, they put lights on the medical Terrapin. So this is the radar seat, but it's got all these well, I don't know if I'd want to actually call this an amenity, but it's got an armor locker. It's got a place for your weapons. It's got a bed, full bathroom, shower, internal components. Ideally, I really hope they put that doorway right in here. I don't know what it is about that. I kind of always like the idea of that, being able to seal that off if people were coming and going. But this is kind of weird. It is basically made for a single person, but it's perfect for 2 people. Oh, it looks like they updated this. Nice. Give it an engineering panel. I believe the other thing on the showroom floor I did not take a look at was this ship over here. The standard Mark II, F7C. This is going to be the base chassis that those other ships are going to be built upon. And they're going to have all the same advantages. Default stats, I'm not aware of yet. I don't think people have data mined it yet. But the major difference is 2 size 4 gun part... Excuse me. 2 size 4 gun point... Ports is the word I'm desperately trying to say, but not getting out. 2 size 4 gun ports on the wings. Sometimes you can see the word, but you just can't say it. My apologies. Well, that's only going to get worse as years go on. Is there anything else over here I haven't looked at? You know what? Let's go downstairs, because that's where the other new ship is. I want to take a look at that really quickly. And that's another one I'm really on the fence about, and I almost don't want to talk about it because I'm going to trigger some people. Uh-oh. Protesters. Yeah, they show up every year. That's okay. I brought a gun. Look at this guy. He knows what's about to happen. Okay, everybody, disperse. There's nothing to see here. Move along. Oh my god. I think I saw this in a horror movie. I think they're all going to stop and point at me in unison and just go, ah! Alright, let's get out of there. They're freaking me out. CIG is teasing us with the idea of parasites and weird bacteria and growths to the point where seeing people do things like that really freaks me out. Nah, the ballista. You know, the ballista is funny. It's like, it is like one of the few ground vehicles that got it right from the start. They didn't have to do anything to it, and the ideas behind what they put into it were perfect. And it was really simple. Like the gun, or the targeting system that it uses targets a lot faster than a ship does, which is very handy when you're using a ground vehicle. It's kind of the advantage that it needed to have, and it made it very effective. Like out of all the Atlas platforms, this is the one to get. And now that you could just lay missiles on the ground and use a tractor beam to reattach them to it. Well, I really hope the mic didn't pick that up. I tried to mute it from while I was doing that. I was coughing. I'm just kind of getting off of being sick for a couple of days, so my voice gets kind of scratchy every now and again. I apologize about that. Okay. Interesting. I was checking out what's over here. Liberator, Legionnaire, Crucible, Paladin. Yeah, the Paladin we're going to be talking about. Centurion? Yeah, Centurion. Where's the Spartan? Where's that located? The Centurion I had kind of like mixed emotions about. If it came down to having the Centurion or the Ballista, I'd pick the ballista. Although I do really like the idea of that turret in the back. Basically like having a hammerhead turret strapped to the back of your vehicle. Downside, you need a second person to use that turret. Okay, let's see what we got here. Was it the Crucible? The Paladin. Wait a minute. What? Nope. That's the repair ship. Whoops. Really? Okay, let's just read this for a second. Designed by Anvil Aerospace, Paladin is an intimidating frontline fight that makes a bold impact whenever it arrives in battle. Whenever it's executing a dangerous operation or leading to charge against overwhelming odds. With its powerful array of turreted weapons and ordnance, the Paladin is ready to ride to the rescue. Now, I'm just going to walk over here and just see if they just made a mistake. Maybe... Nope. That's a Liberator. Crucible. Yeah, they kind of just mixed and matched these. I want to see if the Paladin image is over here. Nope, that's the Legionnaire. Or not the Legionnaire. What was that? Yeah, Legionnaire. I was thinking of the Anvil Legionnaire. Oh, there's the Crucible. Okay. Minor glitches. I want to go back over here to the gunship for a second. Then we'll go and revisit these. That's too bad. At least wanted to have something visually to show you. So the big thing about it, and honestly, coming on the heels of the nerf that came to the Redeemer, and then having this gunship come out, it suddenly makes me feel like, I'm not very conspiracy minded, but it does feel a little odd. Because it honestly just, to me, feels like it's the ship that the Redeemer wanted to be. Now, this Paladin has a crew of 4 people. It has a gunner. Gunner does not have access to any of the... Excuse me. It has a pilot. The pilot does not have access to any of the guns. And it's got 3 other turrets. 2 of them are side-mounted, and they have dual size 4 guns on it. And then it's got a... Well, it's got a dorsal turret that has 4 size 5 guns on it. And it's on a track, much like it is with the Scorpius. But this one actually goes fully onto the belly, or you can mount it onto the back of the ship. And most of it seems like it's based off of the, let's see if I can remember the name of it, the Valkyrie's chassis. It has like the exact same flight deck as the Valkyrie. Has a lot of interior space. Has 2 floors to it. It's big, but it also seems to be compact for its size and what it has. Price tag's a little pricey. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really on the fence right now. I don't know how I feel about it. The only thing that has going for it is I'm building an Anvil fleet, and it seems like it is a really good gunship. But my advice, like everything else, would be to hold off and just buy it in-game, because it's in concept right now, and one of my standard rules is to not buy anything that's in concept anymore. Or at least really just hold out until it's a flyable asset, and then just reevaluate it and see if what they did lives up to what they described it to be. Because I get disappointed one too many times when things change. The Liberator is kind of one of those things too. Like, I ended up buying it right off the bat, and then I melted it, and it's in my buybacks right now, and I'm kind of holding off to see whether or not I resurrect it. You know, is this going to be competition with the Ironclad? Is it not? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? There's a lot of speculation going on right now. And that's kind of the war that people have with it, because they're comparing images that aren't indicative of the actual ship, even though they are supposed to be to scale. And I don't know, people have done that in the past, and it's always failed. It's never the exact same thing. But in the end, it really kind of comes down to how useful is this ship going to be? How many vehicles can it carry? How can I abuse the external pads and put more things onto it than I'm supposed to? We'll see. I had a lot of high hopes for it, and once again, I've had a lot of high hopes for ships in the past. And I have that kind of like cautiously optimistic kind of attitude about it. So we'll revise that when it actually ends up being a flyable asset. This ship was another one I really love the idea of. And once again, when it came out, they started to say that you're going to be able to attach ships to the outside of another ship while it's in quantum. Specifically, they're saying that about this ship. And I don't know if they're going to adhere to that or not. I really hope they do. Because if they do end up going with that, that's going to open up a whole world of possibilities with ships. Particularly when it comes to docking and docking options. I just like this ship too. I don't know. I see a lot of gameplay potential with it. I definitely see a lot of role-playing potential with it. Once again, that's another we'll see category. The Crucible was another one too. I bought this ship. Oh God. I think it's almost going on close to a decade now. Like that's how long ago. They have a design dock on the repair mechanic that is amazing. And I really wasn't into the whole idea of it until I actually read this. Now, granted, things change over time, but if you go back and you read the original design doc when it comes to mining, everything that is in that doc is in the game. They've just added to it. It's not like they've completely changed the concept at all. And I think the same thing is going to be with repair. I think everything that they were talking about is going to be in to one degree or another. It's just about how they end up doing it. That's what's going to change. Transport was another one that was kind of like that. It has like a very interesting design doc that goes along with it. And I'm not really personally interested in transport gameplay mechanics at all. Well, I'm interested in the mechanics, but I'm not interested in pursuing that as a career. Let's put it that way. Where's the... I don't see it anywhere. I don't see the Spartan. Where is it? There it is. Okay, Hull 3. I don't know why I'm looking for that so hard. It's just because I can't see it. Okay, let's go hit the halls. I went through the main floor a little quicker than I thought I was going to. Oh, you guys again. Jeez. Disperse already. Get out of here. Let's go Hall 3 first. Seems to be the most convenient. Yeah, Anvil's going to be a really popular day. Because for anybody who doesn't know, Anvil is the current supplier of military ships to the UAE. They replaced Aegis. And don't feel so bad about that, because Aegis replaced RSI back in the day, so. What is this? Like a hall of my favorite ships here? I actually really do like the Lightning as a heavy fighter. This has kind of been my go-to ship for just doing any kind of like PvE stuff. I really like this ship. Heavy hitting, tanky. I usually just put all power to the guns and just have at it. You know? And the Valkyrie. This has been my baby for quite a while. This is one of my favorite looking ships in the game. And it's just recently had a whole series of buffs put to it. It's kind of one of those things that when you get a ship, and I said this before, I think at the beginning of this video, go with your gut. And when I first saw this, I said yes. And I hated myself for it because I really loved the way it looked. I loved the way it handled. I enjoyed flying it around. I loved the VTOL. But I was just like, it's a dropship. I don't need a dropship. Why am I getting a dropship? It's not only a dropship, it's an expensive dropship. Oh God, what am I doing? You know, it was one of those things. And I've melted it and I've gotten it back like 3 or 4 times over. So for the nerfs, it has 2 size 3 guns on the chin now. Those are the pilot operated weapons. And it's got it's got a single size 4 on each of the remote mounts here on the side. Those are upgrades from what it used to be. Like when they first had this ship in the test server, it had 2 size 3 guns underneath the chin. And then they nerfed it down to 2 size 2s. I'm glad to see that it's back to 2 size 3s. It isn't the biggest difference in the world. It's not a game changer, but I'll take bigger any day of the week. And the 2 man turrets are just fine. They both have 2 size 3s each on them. And those are about convenience and being able to readily hit targets that are above and below the ship. It's not about adding, well, it is about adding to the DPS, but when you split up the amount of gunners that you have on a ship, you're going to split the DPS up just by default. It's inevitable. And unfortunately, these side guns, they don't really get a good firing arc on the front of the ship. Like, they really could be extended out a little bit. And if you look at it, see, there's the end of the wing, and then there's an armature, and that's what the gun's connected to. And I would love to see that armature be able to be extended out a little further than it is. Like, particularly when you're going into landing mode or flying mode, or you go into combat mode, or you turn the guns on, those things would, you know, extend out even more. And I forgot what the point of convergence, the point of convergence was when you're shooting on a target. But also, a lot of people don't seem to know this, is you can manually set that. So if you don't like how far away the convergence is set for, you can go in there and bring it closer into the ship. And I guess the only complaint I have right now, well, it's not even a complaint, it's something on my checklist, something I would love to see to be able to do, is if you did not have people sitting in that or in those remote seats, it would default control of them over to the pilot, kind of like it does in the Redeemer. I know people are hanging a lot of hopes on blades, but it's just something that I was hoping to be kind of like a default ability of this ship. And the only other thing too, and I realize this is also a controversial thing, is putting an air shield in that back area right here, and putting another air shield right here, and one here as well. That would solve every one of the other problems with this ship right now. But other than that, I love the ship. I mean, look at this. This is where all the seating is. And over here as well. I don't know if you've seen the discussion they had about, like, they talked about riot seats just very briefly, and they're supposed to have their own inventory. So when you sit on it, it's going to take all this external equipment you have and store it in the seat. And then when you get up, it's going to put it back on your person. So you're not going to have to, like, sit down and take your gun off and take your backpack off or anything like that. It's just going to be handled automatically. I guess that's the whole point of it, which is going to be very convenient. And although the concept of it's a little wonky, I still like the practice of it. You know, so let's see. Oh, it actually works. Almost every time I try to climb that ladder, I fall off like I have butter on my fingers. And I actually have to go back and do it a second time. So these are the remote seats that handle those side guns. And that's the top turret right there. Then downstairs, the bottom turret. It's got beds. It's got a little bit of everything. Like, as a dropship, it's got so much more than the other dropships do. It has all the amenities that you're going to need. This is almost like a really good mobile base, too. Like a good medium-sized mobile base. And also, one of the biggest things about this is one of the few ships that can also carry... Well, okay, it's one of the few ships of its size that could carry an Ursa medevac. So you could bring a little mobile spawn point with you and a little healing station as well. It's very cool. And also the ability just to be able to carry vehicles, and something that is rover-sized or equivalent to rover-sized is very handy. Like, this is storming the bunker ship. And also it's supposed to have heavy armor too, which isn't implemented yet, but once it does, the ship should be a tank. And once again, I just really, really like the look of it. So basing the Paladin on this ship was a good move, because it inherits a lot of its DNA. I'm sure the interior is probably going to look almost exactly the same. All right, it's going to take a quick look again over here and see what these other... Oh, it's only one other room. Oh, it's almost done with. Look at Pisces, Hawk, Hurricane, Gladiator, Arrow. Okay, this is Hall 2. Well, I hope people have enjoyed watching these little walkthroughs I've been doing. I've really enjoyed doing these. It's just been a great experience for me just talking live directly to you. I know a lot of times I fumble with things that I'm saying and try to recover as best as I can, and I appreciate you people sticking with me through this. But I'm going to really miss this. I'm going to really miss doing these. I mean, tomorrow's like a best in show, and that's not really much content there. You can walk around the main floor and just look at 4 ships and just be like, hey, look, it's purple and a little bit of white. Yay. Okay, done here. Moving on. And then the last day is the grand finale. In case anybody doesn't know, you're going to be able to rent every one of the ships during that time. So it's just going to be 890 jumps and Polaris as far as the eye can see. Ah, the Arrow. Ah, my sweet Arrow. I've loved this ship. This has been my go-to just white fighter for forever. Personal transport. And I love the idea that it folds up the wings like this. Very few... Well, I'm trying to think of another ship that actually does this. I'm sure there's something I'm not thinking about right now that does do it, but right now this is one of the few ships I can think off the top of my head that does do this. And because of that, it has an insane level of transport options. You can fit so many more arrows into a ship than you can anything else. I think they called it the Mini Saber. That's what it was dubbed as when they first put it up for sale. And you know what? I like it. This is the Gladiator. This is like the only Anvil ship I don't own. And little by little, I'm feeling like I missed out. Or if I do get it, I'm definitely going to get it in-game. Using the in-game currency. I believe this is 2 size 4 guns on it now, on the wings. And those are 2 size 3s on the turret. Then it's got a ton of missiles on it as well. It's a borderline missile boat. I don't want to call it a bomber, because I think bombers are misclassified right now, but it definitely fits into that category. Because I believe it has the largest size missile it has is a size 5. And according to CIG, a size 5 missile is either the biggest missile or the smallest torpedo, depending on how you want to look at it. They really hedge their bets on that one. So, the lightest end on the torpedo category that you could go with. But it's still there. I think I would put this up against the Vanguard variant that has the size 5 missiles as well. If I was going to do another Versus episode. If I was going to do one that featured this ship. Oh, the medical Pisces. Super handy, super convenient. This was one I didn't even have to think about when it came out. This was just an instant sale as far as I was concerned. And if you walk inside of it, this is just like basically a compact version of the medical the medical Terrapin. It's got the extra seat, digital medical assistant, bed, little wash station. Nab me some goodies. No. Don't exactly need a flare that badly. And the Hurricane. This has been my go-to ship whenever I had just only one other person to fly with me. This is the thing I would take out. 2 size 4 guns, which are just beasts. And then the 4 size 3s on the turrets. This thing just does work. It's kind of funny too, is when it first came out, this thing was a glass cannon and it just sucked. And they reworked it and they reworked it, and now it's in a really good place. Bad lighting on that turret still. What's up with that? Yeah, I love the look of it. Love flying it. Like, when you put this up against the Scorpius, which is its other direct competitor, the Scorpius has, like, a lot of gimmicks to it. And it looks... I think it looks cleaner. I think they've added things to it that definitely makes it just look better if you're just walking past the two. But the Hurricane is still the one that was always my go-to ship. And here's the Hawk. No, excuse me for a second. I just had to cough again and mute it. Hey, they fixed the landing gear. I was doing an If It Sits, It Fits video with a Polaris, and the landing gear was just all goofy on that. It was so funny looking. It looked like it was rearing up and trying to attack you. Like, it was just... The biggest change that they've done to this is they got rid of the bed in the back. Let's see if I can open it. Oh, you're not letting me do it. Oh, no, wait, here we go. Here's the button. So you're supposed to be able to put one of those prisoner pods right here in the back, and it'll just kind of suck it in. So just to confirm, there's only going to be room for one prisoner pod at a time. That hasn't changed. Still got the EMP, still got the same number of guns, same size. And with that, I think this comes to a close, sadly enough. Well, that's going to be it for IAE for this year. This has been this has been Anvil. I've been having a blast showing these to everybody. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching them. I've been your host, Law of the West. Thanks for watching, and take care.